You might have noticed that there are a lot of horror movie monsters out there. It's a strange side effect of horror movies being popular. People make more of them and then they put in the stuff they think is cool. A lot of the time, what one person thinks is cool doesn't exactly jive with big studios or distributors trying to make a bunch of money, so the cool ideas get pushed back a little. When this happens, a lot of wicked stuff flies under the radar. So let's talk about some cool movie monsters that you might not know too much about. It's time for the top 5 horror movie monsters that deserve your attention. Coming in at number 5, we've got Bubba Ho-Tep from Bubba Ho-Tep. An official selection of the Toronto Film Festival some 2 decades ago, this wild horror comedy thrilled audiences left and right. Unfortunately, festival success and critical acclaim don't often add up to financial explosions. Plus, the movie is probably too weird to casually explain to anybody who wouldn't want to watch it, so that sort of plays against it. But believe me when I say it, you want to watch Bubba Ho-Tep. Involved are some of the folks responsible for Phantasm and Army of Darkness. You've also got Bruce Campbell, goddammit. And you've also got a whimsical reimagining of a couple of American legends that most people wouldn't think to craft a horror movie about. To set the stage, I've got to introduce the non-monsters in the movie. You've got Bruce Campbell playing an aging, delusional Elvis impersonator. 20 years ago, he fell off the stage, broke his hip, and fell into the fantasy of being the king of rock and roll. Then you've got Ozzie Davis as a nursing home resident who's convinced that he is John F. Kennedy post-assassination. The two discover an ancient Egyptian curse that seems to be plaguing their nursing home and decide to put a stop to this. The curse summons Bubba Ho-Tep, a mummy who was stolen from a museum, lost in a storm, and dressed up in cowboy attire. Instead of bringing the mummy's curse to a research team that might know how to stop it, or maybe a college campus where young folks might have a chance at fighting it, this mummy decides to wreak havoc in the community of senior citizens. Now that's a scary villain, hedging its bets and claiming souls who are already at the end of the road. The goofy premise of a lost mummy tearing through a nursing home in a 10-gallon hat plays well with the comedic chops of Bruce Campbell, but still manages to pull off some good scares. Plus, for 2002, The Mummy looks pretty good. It's no Brendan Fraser big budget affair, but it works for what the movie's trying to do. If any of what I said appeals to you in the slightest, you've got to check out this underappreciated early 2000s gem. Just don't watch the trailer, it does not do the movie justice. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Animatronics from Willy's Wonderland. What can I even say about this weird, wacky wonderland? A knockoff Five Nights at Freddy's starring Nicolas Cage as a badass drifter who doesn't speak. Blood, guts, pizza, and arcade games. 8 insane, broken down, and decrepit animatronics out for blood. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it matter? It's exactly the kind of movie one would expect from Nick Cage at this point in his career, but even then it comes across as totally batshit crazy. And you know what? It's actually pretty cool. Each animatronic has a fun and unique design, harkening back to the glory days of Chuck E. Cheese and other similar family fun businesses. There really is something inherently upsetting about early animatronic characters. Kids knew it when they saw the Country Bear Jamboree growing up. Adults knew it when they returned to Charles Entertainment Cheese's entertainment complex years later. And of course, Scott Cawthon knew it when he created one of the most iconic and well-known horror franchises of the past decade. So when a movie with a budget that isn't $0 decides to lean into that uncanny valley horror show, you know it's gonna be a ride. This is a pretty new one, so if you want to avoid Willy's Wonderland spoilers, I'd move right along to the next entry. So the story here is that a legendary serial killer and his cannibalistic cohort ran this pizza emporium years ago. Every once in a while, they would kill off a hapless family and figure out how to hide the evidence. When they did eventually get caught, they performed a satanic ritual to transfer their souls into the animatronics where they still reside today. Even after the facility shut down, they'd managed to lurk out under cover of darkness to kill people in the nearby town. So some folks from the town decided to strike a deal with the robotic maniacs. If they trick random drifters into being night janitors every once in a while as sacrifices, the animatronics will stay put. But as you know, Nick Cage and any of the characters he plays will never go down without a fight. It's a messy showdown and it is suitably ridiculous. Coming in at number 3, we've got the creature from After Midnight / Something Else. For fans of Spring and other assorted horror rom-coms, this movie manages to be scary, heartfelt, and weirdly life-affirming all at the same time. After the main character Hank wakes up one day to discover his longtime girlfriend is missing, things start going south. He loses his lust for life and tends to just mope around. However, this mopey attitude can't stick around forever, as every night a monster lays siege upon their home in the middle of nowhere. When this happens, Hank is forced to take action, brandishing a gun and attempting to keep the creature at bay. The thing is, these monster attacks are nowhere near as distressing to Hank as his girlfriend just up and leaving one day. So he's got both of these issues to wrestle with, and maybe the monster is a metaphor for something, but I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. If a rarely seen nightcrawler with a penchant for causing noise and then disappearing doesn't sound exactly like a monster you'd be thrilled by, at least make it past the halfway point of this movie. There's a long take sequence that is absolutely mind-blowing, and it elevates pretty much every other element in the movie. And just in case you're wondering, the flick is commonly known as After Midnight, but you can probably find it under the title of something else as well. Coming in at number 2, Sam from Trick or Treat. If any horror mascot deserves more praise than they're currently getting, it is this delightful little pumpkin head from the Ultimate Halloween Horror Anthology. Just look at him. He simply oozes Halloween spirit. The thread that runs through all the fantastic late October tales, Sam is ruthless, deadly, and honestly, not that hard to cheer for. Even though he has a penchant for slasherville violence, his goals are understandable. He's gotta ensure that everyone's following the rules of Halloween. Extinguish your pumpkin too early? Good luck. Hoard all your candy. Ouch. Act in ways that fly in the face of a good spooky time? Well, I hope you have all of your affairs handled. Wielding a razor-sharp lollipop and enough strength for 10 dudes his size, Sam is a man on a mission. Or a weird Halloween spirit on a mission. By all means, Sam should have a plethora of horror movies featuring his antics. Trick or Treat is a veritable cult hit, begging for sequels and spin-offs and animated series and more. But for whatever reason, we haven't seen much more of him since his 2007 debut. Maybe someday, right? And finally, at number 1, we've got Lola from Cam. As technology continues to play bigger and bigger roles in our lives, this digital doppelganger gets even scarier. It presents viewers with so many questions. To what degree is my online persona the same as me? How different is it from me? Could it be a totally different person? How does the perception of that from other people change who I am? What if my online image takes a wicked turn, and how can I prove who is the real me? Now that we've been largely existing in digital spaces over the past year and a bit, these questions hit a little harder. Cam is the tale of a cam girl named Alice, who through plenty of hard work and creative, morbid cam shows has amassed quite a following. In order to keep her work life and home life separate, she creates an alter ego to perform as Lola. But as she hits a major milestone, she loses control of her account. However, someone is still running her streams. Someone who looks, sounds, and for the most part acts exactly like her. But this avatar is all Lola and no Alice. This version of Lola ramps up the stakes during her streams, performing acts that should kill her, but always manages to survive. As Alice investigates, she discovers that similar things have happened to other online performers, resulting in their eventual violent deaths. So she's got to figure out how this alter ego came to life and how to stop it before it's too late. If the implications of digital existence have ever concerned you, this is a monster that will haunt your nightmares for ages. More monsters is always a good thing, right? Well, if you don't agree, I'm sure one will find you soon. So what'd you think of the list? How many of these already had your attention? Do you agree with my picks? What are some other horror movie monsters in need of observation? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more perplexing ones from the top 5 most disturbing scenes in horror movies, part 6. Spooky Buzzy says the scene in Event Horizon where Weir's mutilated face is revealed is pretty disturbing, and made even worse when it's revealed he did it to himself. We don't need eyes to see where we're going. The Descent into Madness. Classic. Jenny G says, one scene I found disturbing in House of a Thousand Corpses was where the girl's dad turns up to rescue her, and he finds her tied up in a shed, but he gets shot before he can help. Even worse later when she is tormented by her dad's face skin being used as a mask. That really got to me. Rob Zombie really knows how to cook up a horrific moment or two, eh? Tammy Ruiz says the most disturbing part of that scene in The Shining for me was my uncle talking about how hot he found the naked chick. No horror scene compares. I was actually happy when she turned into a rotten corpse. Oh boy, you gotta wonder what compels an uncle to say such things in front of his family. Roberto Buatti says Savini is a master of practical horror makeup effects. His work in Maniac is truly disturbing. Watching the work Savini has done never gets old. And Rob the Brobot says, just a heads up Keegan, the sum of 2 plus 3 plus 7 equals 12, not 13. Still love the show though. And that's why you're the Brobot and I'm over here talking about horror movies. No math. That's the time we have for today. I'm gonna go drink from the cursed chalice for the sole purpose of staying hydrated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Itchy. Three Bear Jamboree growing up. Adult. He loses his lust for life and tends to the thread that runs through all the fan. Gosh darn it, Tammy.